Hello, welcome to episode 10 of The Tasting Hour. I'm Jason.
And I'm Gary.
This month we're talking Rebellion and Call of the Wild. There are interviews that we've got in our show this month. Gary is currently he's about to kick off with the beast of all cigars, ironically called the Beast. I've got a Rebellion cigar that I'm also going to smoke as well, and I'm pairing my cigar this month with Hellstone's whiskey, which is a Cornish whiskey. What do you think of that cigar on first impressions, Gary?
Quite well filled or made up, which makes a change because some of them are not. Interesting aroma from the wrapper, but not that strong. But we've had that with the Rocky number 6. So you have a nice value thing, and then you go and smell the
foot of the cigar.
There's something else going on completely differently.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a punchy cigar when you get to that part. So the cigar I'm going for is the Ace of Spades. So I'm going for a smaller one because I've already tried the Beast. I won't tell you what I thought of it. I'll let you make your own decision there. So Rebellion, they're a very young company, really. They've not been around too long, since COVID, essentially. And they're actually partnering with a rock festival called Call of the Wild, which is why we're talking to them. Because, ironically, I wanted to talk to them because of their cigars and because I'm a bit of a heavy metal fan and I like the idea of a music festival. So that's the interview we got coming up later on. It will be in a couple of parts, mainly because it's a long interview. The full interview will be on a playlist, for the interview playlist that I'm going to put up. And it will go out, as soon as this show is aired, that will go live. So if you want to watch the full interview, you'll be able to see it there.
Yeah.
That said, there's still going to be at least 30 minutes of the interview in the show, which makes you realise how long the interview is.
Well, yes, the full recording time you told me was an hour and 20 minutes, which is a long time. So even to get it down to the 40 minutes that I watched is quite good going.
Do you want to talk about some of the questions we've been asked?
Yeah, I'm going to... One we're going to deal with later in the programme. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my trip across into Italy and Germany. The first question is from the charming gentleman who wanted to know why we couldn't do a £2 cigar.
Well, yeah, he said it was...
or something like that.
Pre-flavoured cigars for $2 is what they can get, half Coronas. So about that sort of size. The main reason is tax.
Yeah.
Big reason.
Cigar tax is about £440 a kilo. So the reason why there won't be any cheap ones, because this cigar is currently 16 grams.
Yeah.
Its tax is £7.
And that's before you add VAT or even the profit margin for the company.
We did do the calculation. That tax is about half of the cost of the cigar before we put the VAT on it, which is another £5.
Yes. So that's why you're never, ever going to get a £2 or $2 cigar in the UK.
Plus the obvious one is that USA grows a lot of tobacco and they can use some of it for cigars because there's huge factories down in Florida. Even from places like Dominican Republic or wherever, they're only 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Whereas we're 4.
Yeah.
It's a 9-hour flight.
Yeah. So in which case somebody's got to pay for that mileage.
And the cost of...
And the cost gets passed on to us.
Yeah.
Which is always going to be the way. Which is a shame, but that is life. Really.
But the main thing is the question of the tax. In Europe, we'll talk about it later, particularly in Germany. Even the Swiss managed to do decent things. Tobacco you can afford to buy in Switzerland. But that's another story. I think I should get this one going.
Yes.
And I think we should go off to the first part of...
Yeah, we'll go straight after the interview because then we can talk about how we're finding the cigars when we come back from the first part of the interview. We'll see you in about 10 minutes or so. So, Sean, thank you for joining us on the Tasting Hour. We're talking about Rebellion Cigars. What was the initial idea and why you started it? How did it come about?
Okay, so many years ago, I decided that I was smoking a lot of cigars, and it was getting quite expensive. So how could I do it cheaper? And I thought, oh no, I've got a great idea. I'll start up a website and I'll buy Cuban cigars in, and therefore at least I can pay trade for the ones I'm actually smoking. So that was the first hurdle I hit, because nobody would give me the time of day all those years ago. So I kind of had a look at it. I parked the idea. So in 2019, again, I was kicking this idea around, and actually I was in Malta with a couple of mates, and we'd had a bit to drink, and we were in a restaurant, bought some cigars. It cost us like 40 quid for some whatever. And we just started having this conversation again, and they spurred me on a little bit. So I got back and I thought, right, I'm going to do this. So I then had to come up with, what do I call the thing? What's the branding going to be, and all that sort of stuff. So as you can probably tell, pink is my favorite color, always has been. So, and there's two reasons. One is it's my favorite color, but the second reason it's pink is because if you go to a lot of the stores in America, where they literally, the humidors could have 800, 900, 1,000 different cigars in there, it's a sea of brown and blacks. So there's no real color differentiation. So, how do you stand out in that crowded environment? So, right, if we're pink and loud, we're at least going to stand out, and hopefully people will think, okay, well, let's have a look at this, try the product, and then hopefully go on and smoke them. So that was point number one. Point number two was, what do we call it? Well, Rebellion just sort of came to me. It was kind of right. This is a kick in the ass to the establishment. It goes with the kind of the rock and roll theme, and it's a bit of a, well, let's just try and do something a bit different. And COVID was sort of coming along. Cigars, particularly Cubans in this country, were expensive then and got even more expensive since then. So why don't we try and create our own brand of cigar that we can bypass perhaps the distributor, bring them in ourselves, sell them ourselves, and hopefully get the price right down so that it's affordable for everybody to smoke. And that's kind of how the whole thing came about. So I've made that sound very easy. The reality is totally different.
So, Sean, what are you smoking this evening?
So I am smoking the Screaming Skull. It's our limited edition one that we launched last year at PCA in America. And it's up there with one of my favorites. I love this cigar. My wife always tells me this, it's not about me, it's about what other people smoke. And that was one of the things we tried to do. We've got 8 or 9 different blends and different sizes, because different people want to smoke different things. So you've got to try and appeal to the widest audience that you can.
And that actually brings me on to another subject. Probably the cigar that most people will know you for is the Beast.
Right.
What brought that collaboration about?
Well, again, it's amazing how things happen, right? So I'll tell you the whole story. I was doing a launch to a cigar lounge in Estonia. So they'd just taken our cigars on. They placed their second order. Would you come over and do an order? Of course I will. So I'm in this lounge for people, and in the corner, there's 3 very sharply dressed gentlemen smoking the cigars. And this guy came over to me and he introduced himself. He said, I've got to be honest. He says, I'm smoking this cigar. And I can't remember which one it was. He said, but I don't really like it. And I said, not a problem at all. Right. You can't please everybody all the time. Right. That's just how life is. And then we went on to the second cigar. And again, I can't remember which one it was. And he came over and he said, well, I really like this one. He says, and I don't know if you know, but I know Eddie. And I'm like, okay. Who's Eddie? And I was trying not to be rude, but he says, yeah, well, he smokes your cigars. Eddie Hall. Okay. I'm still kind of like, the cogs are still whirring. Next thing I know, he's showing me all these messages from Eddie Hall saying, oh, yeah, I love his cigars. I go to the pipe rack shop in Stoke and I buy his cigars.
Right.
And I'm thinking, this is brilliant. This is World's Strongest Man 2018. He smokes our cigars. So anyway, again, long story short, we got put in touch with each other. I went to America about a month afterwards. He was also in America. We had a phone call together. Do you want to do something? Would love to. So went to his house. Saw his tanks. He has 2 tanks on his driveway outside his house. sat outside the back by the swimming pool, and talked turkey. We did some blends for him, and I asked him why he had started smoking our cigars. He's been smoking cigars for years, and he said, "Well, the Cubans were getting expensive, and I used to smoke Romeo y Julieta White Churchills." So he said, "I was in Pipe Rack, and I saw this pink, and I thought, bloody hell, that's right up my street. I'll give them a go." And he's no look back. So it was a particular cigar that was his favourite. We tweaked that blend a little bit to make his own blend, and then that's what we come up with. Came up with the Beast. So we launched that again in America at PCA last year, and it's going great. Yeah, it's going great in all markets where we've launched it. And he's a really good guy as well. He's a real sound, down to earth bloke.
He's someone who comes across very genuine in his approach to people. So when he interacts with fans and stuff, it's not, "Oh, I'm the big guy." It's just, "Hey, I'm Eddie. That's it. I am who I am." And that's great.
And that's exactly it. He is who he is. He's worked hard for everything he's got. He started off as a mechanic, and he was doing bodybuilding really for mental health reasons, to do something to keep himself busy. And he really got into it, thought he was really good, and thought actually, and again, he tells the story, and I can't remember the exact details, so I won't repeat it, but how the light bulb went off, and he thought, right, I need to focus on this, go and do it. He started doing it. His doctor then said, "Look, Eddie, all your markers are off the charts here. You're too big. You're going to have a heart attack, stroke, blah, blah, blah." And he thought, right, I've got this competition coming up in a month's time. I'm going to give it absolutely everything. He won, and he hasn't competed since. Of course, he does lots of stuff, but he knew he had to lose a little bit of bulk. I mean, he's still, a massive bloke, and he's got a very firm handshake and all that sort of stuff. But, he works hard, so he deserves everything he gets.
So there you go. That was the first part of the interview in this month's podcast. I think it's an interesting story, and actually, I love the reason he started the cigar company so he just paid trade for his own cigars. I have to admire the man for that.
As a shop owner, I understand his reasoning logic totally. Otherwise, it's a lot of duty-free runs to pick up your 50 ration of 50 cigars a time.
Yes. Let's clarify something. It's 50 cigars. So 50 cigars this size or 50 cigars that size.
Doesn't matter.
They don't care which size, it's just the number. So get the bigger ones.
Yes.
I think it's a very interesting fact that that collaboration's come about, the Beast. I mean, it is a cigar. It's not as beefy as I would personally like a cigar. Because you think, oh, Beast, world's strongest man. You're expecting something.
Yes, I would have perhaps expecting something heading towards like the M81 or something like that. Something with quite a bit of punch to it. I mean,
an old school Partagas, a proper real flavour bomb.
Real
cigar.
flavour bomb. As for its flavour, it's not over strong. It's not weak either. It's not a double Connecticut wrapper or anything like that. I did note that he used to smoke Romeo and Juliet and the thing, and I'm thinking, this is probably actually, yes, perhaps what a Romeo and Juliet should be tasting of at the moment.
Well, that's actually quite a high compliment, actually. In fairness, that is quite a high praise.
This is it's ticking along. It's getting going. I mean, I know it's price in the shop. You said in their online shop, it's about £18.
Yeah, 80, just under £19. Sorry, breaking stuff. Just under £19 a cigar. And actually, for that size, it's a Gran Toro size, isn't it? It's a 6-inch.
You said 56?
Yeah, 56 ring gauge, 6 inches. It's actually, that's very cheap for that size cigar. That's actually quite cheap.
And the tax is still the same because the weight is there at 16 grams.
Yeah. But we were saying earlier on, off camera, sorry about that, number 6 or the M81, they're the similar sort of size cigars, and they're a good £10 more.
You are paying for Rocky Patel and his expertise.
Yeah, and you're paying for Drew Estate and theirs.
And the way he looks after and all the rest. That's nothing against the Rebellion, because there are a lot of cigars which can be going down. I mean, the Galeria Robusto which I do sell, is still £19.80.
Yeah.
A bigger version of that wouldn't be much more, but that's also, some of it's also who's importing it and what margin they want
What
to
margins they're doing as well, yeah.
And I know that that particular company, supplier, was going for a lower setting than what traditional.
I think that's the difference, isn't it? Rebellion, this is their cigar. So therefore their markup it's just that one step.
It needs to be what he needs to make money.
Yeah, so it doesn't need to be what he needs to make money and then the next person to make money before the retailer makes their money.
Yeah.
So therefore that can enable it to be that bit cheaper.
Yeah, he's missed out the middleman in that sense. And then that can be £2 or £3. But
and that makes a difference. When you're choosing a cigar, that's enough of a margin to make a difference.
it's what the retailers probably putting on, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. And as you say, some retailers are putting on a lot more than that.
Well, yes, the tax. If I go back to the tax element that I just talked about, that weight of cigar will have £7 tax on it, whether it's a Rebellion or a similar size from another country.
Yeah, if it's a Cuba,
who has a mark. For example, Cuba, where you're paying for a product.
Yeah,
the tax is the same.
Exactly. I mean, that's the equivalent of a Partagas P2, or E2 even, because then it's
probably more than E2.
Yeah, you're still paying that £7. It's still the same tax on both of those cigars,
and that's going to be up around heading towards £50 now.
Yeah, exactly it. So you're going to get almost 3 of those for one of those. You're just going to do it, right? Let's go back into the second part of the interview because I think this is all about. This is more about their collaboration and the music festival side. And I think there's some interesting points I want to discuss in the music side. So we shall see you in a little bit. Now, this is the other reason for this interview. You're collaborating with the Call of the Wild Music Festival. Who are the other 2 chaps on our Zoom call? Adam and John. So, guys, what brought this collaboration about?
We saw Rebellion and sort of spotted the brand. I'd had a taste of Rebellion cigars before, thought they were really good, really enjoyed them. Got into Sean's story a little bit more, and it's always the story that counts with any of these things, because a good cigar is a good cigar, right? But the story behind a good cigar makes it even more alluring and more appealing. And when I saw Rebellion, I thought, well, God, their story is very, very similar to ours in the respect that we're kind of like a bit of the outsiders, bit of the young pretenders, supporting, we wanted to support a British business, which obviously Rebellion Cigars are, a British home brand. They've got a punk attitude. They don't do what they're told. Don't follow to any conformity. And guess what? Call of the Wild is exactly that spirit. So for us, it was kind of like a match made in heaven between the two brands. I thought, this has to work. It just has to work. And when I contacted Sean and I had a call, very quickly got on like a house on fire, and it was like, yeah, we need to do something together. What that looked like at that point, we wasn't quite sure. And then obviously we followed with a couple more meetings, had some more discussions, and we've invited Rebellion Cigars to come and join us this year at the festival. And I couldn't be more happier, to be honest with you. I believe, you might have to fact check this, but we are the first UK rock festival to have a cigar brand with us.
You are. I can actually tell you that you are. It's never been done
Excellent.
before. And I will say as well, this does strike me, and I'm going to be very ageist in this point. It's a very Gen X attitude.
Well, yeah. I mean, we are quite rebellious, I mean, we've got strap lines such as "Don't tell us we can't. We'll only go and prove you wrong." We are very stickers in the mud. Like, don't tell us. We'll do what we want, and we'll do it differently. Obviously, I'm biased, but I believe that our festival stands on its own as probably the only 2-stage, side-by-side grassroots music festival which is topped by legendary bands, that have got legacy, and that the two sit alongside each other. It could be a band that's only been around for 6 months, but 6 hours later, there's a band that's been touring the world for the last 6 months playing that exact same stage, and they both deserve that place. And that's kind of what we feel, that there's a generation out there of people, of bands that need to be seen. Otherwise, there'll not be any more Metallicas, there'll not be any more AC/DCs, there'll not be any more Judas Priest, there'll not be any more Guns N' Roses. Somebody's got to support that scene to ensure that its legacy remains and it continues to.
That is a very good point, actually. On that note, how many acts have you got this year?
I think it's around 55, 60 bands over the 4-day course. Thursday night is a VIP night with 3 bands on, and that's just a bit of a warmer up. It's pretty much the first outdoor festival of the UK, and on the underground scene or the grassroots scene, there's quite a lot of people that travel festival to festival. But there's always a lot of excitement about our festival because it's the first one out of the blocks, really. It's just as the spring's turning, the weather's just turning nice. It's a great one. So there's always a lot of excitement, particularly about the Thursday night. 300 people in a captive tent. There's nowhere else for them to go. It's a great start to the season. And then we follow that by 3 full days with 3 stages, 2 outdoor stages, flipping. So literally one band's playing on that stage. And while playing on that stage, the other stage is setting up. As soon as that band finishes, that band starts. So you've got continuity of music, and it's literally move 50 yards to the left. Not even that. Probably 20 yards to the left, 20 yards to the right.
Well, actually, you can stand there and literally just turn your head.
Yeah, you could, yeah. I mean, people, it's like at festivals, people set the pitch with the chairs and they don't have to move. It literally is that close. But for a festival of its size, it's quite unique. I mean, there are big festivals in Europe that do it, but for an underground kind of grassroots scene event, it's not really. Again, it's fairly unique, and that's our USP as far as we're concerned.
Right, let's change it slightly. The cigars we're smoking this evening, guys. I'm going for the Ace of Spades. What are the rest of you smoking? Sean?
So I'm smoking the Screaming Skull.
I'm smoking the Beast. I'm actually ploughing through the Beast as we speak. I have a bit of a reputation for being able to get through a Toro or a Gordo probably quicker than anyone I know. In fact, the lads have given me a lovely, affectionate nickname of Dyson Fury because I can smoke a cigar. I'll probably go through 2 in this interview.
That sounds like a challenge. And John, what are you smoking?
I'm smoking the You Shook Me All Night Long.
I've had that one. I have very much enjoyed that one as well. I have to admit, this is the first time having the Ace of Spades, and it's got a nice balance to it. There's a few in the range that you've sent me that I've tried. There's a couple I'm not a fan of. As I have said, the Redneck Woman is probably my favourite one, which I wasn't expecting. My wife did look at me strangely when I told her that was the title. So I've kept that quiet since that point. But it's nice to see such a young cigar brand having so many good different choices.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to take all the credit for this, but honestly, it's all to do with Pedro. So, we work very well with him, and, he basically takes my jumbled mad ideas and turns it into something that hopefully tastes quite nice. So, as I say, I'd like to take all the praise for this, but it's all down to them and the people at the factory that make them.
And on that note, changing it slightly more, what are we drinking this evening?
Oh,
I'm drinking Woodford's Reserve.
So whiskey?
good choice. I'm drinking Casamigos tequila.
That's another good choice, actually, tequila.
And I've gone really pound shop compared to these 2. I've gone for Tesco's Fine. No, I haven't. I've gone for Sailor Jerry rum.
And I've kept it, because we were talking about a music festival, I went for the Metallica Black and 150 batch.
Oh, nice one.
All right.
So it was like, wow, it's a music festival chat. We got to do,
Well, they have their own cigar now. You know that the Black and cigar.
Yes, it's become a personal favourite of mine. And funny enough, in one of the cigar groups I'm in, I have a reputation for buying a lot of them.
But this is the beauty of cigars, isn't it? That what one man likes, another one might not. And I think it's the same for Scotch, it's the same for tequila, it's the same for rum, it's the same for anything. What one man likes, another man might not.
I think,
and I don't get too hooked up on it. To be fair, it's kind of like, well, that's what I like, dude. That's it.
but you see, that's, as you say, it's a great leveler. It doesn't matter where your background is. You could be a city banker or the guy on the construction site. The moment you bring cigars out, the conversation starts. It equals it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I love about this, I would say hobby, but it's probably more than a hobby, if I'm honest.
Obsession.
Yeah, well, I've smoked cigars since I was 15. So
Wow.
a while. And it's one of those things I've seen change an awful lot over the years, but it's the one constant is it brings everybody together. It gets everybody to calm down and we all relax and we all chat.
Yeah.
Exactly that. I heard a great quote once about cigar smoking, and they said it's the last bastion of the campfire conversation between guys. I think when you all sit around and have a cigar, you have a great conversation. You don't always talk about the cigar you're smoking. You might do a fair bit. We do quite a lot, but it also invites other parts of our conversation points as well. And I think they're great for just that, really, sitting around, having a cigar, having a drink. Mm-hmm. It's a very relaxed pastime. I don't think I'm ever more relaxed than I am when I'm smoking a cigar.
It's actually very hard to put into words if you don't experience it. But the cigar could be one of the worst cigars you've ever smoked in the world. But the conversations you had with people at the time makes it a very fond cigar, if you know what I mean. You'll go back to it because it reminds you of the memories you've had from other conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the music festival slightly, what's the age range of your people who come?
So the dynamic is probably 40, 45 to 60. So, it's really strange when you think about it, because if you look at the age dynamic of the bands that are playing, that's probably sort of 20 to 40, 50. And, it's kind of older people watching younger bands. And what we're hoping to do is we're starting to build a bigger team, and we've got younger people involved in a social media. So that's Sabian, who looks after social media, and we've got Charlie, who between them do a bit of presenting. They do their own podcasts that's specific to the event as we're getting up to it. I would like to think, we can encourage more younger people. And again, with Adam's help, we're hopeful that we've got Access College Lincoln, which is a music college in Lincoln, that are hopefully going to be coming along to actually bring them younger generations of people into the music scene that we're in, and so hopefully again keep it alive. Rock used to be the biggest genre of music ever, which it's now overshadowed by R&B and country music by a mile. It's kind of almost forgotten. But as these things do, things will eventually go full cycle, and guitar music and heavy music and rock music will come back to the fore. I guarantee it. I guarantee it will.
But I remember when in the 90s when I first came across Metallica, because it is angry music, essentially. Heavy metal it's very aggressive music. But the artists are so well trained, they're so clinical and clear at getting those notes. That's a level of skill that a lot of modern music doesn't have.
That is, yeah.
It's interesting though, you see, because I only came to rock music later on in life. So, although I was a child of the 70s and 80s, and rock was big in the 70s, the 80s were my kind of influence. So it was the Duran Durans and Madonnas and Michael Jackson, all that sort of stuff. And then around about mid-20s, I discovered Dire Straits, mainly because I bought a CD player, and they did the Money for Nothing CD, which is huge. I thought I quite like this guitar stuff, and then I got into the Guns N' Roses and the AC/DCs and everything else, and never looked back. I mean, that's my genre now.
Well, that was the first CD ever produced.
Yeah,
was the Dire Straits album. Yeah, it was the first.
That was they also launched MTV.
Yes,
they did.
not that many people who watch this will know what MTV is anymore, because they don't do music, they just do shows. That's the thing, isn't it? It's one of those things, it brings everybody together when we talk about stuff like this, because everybody can identify something.
I've got this saying that there are a lot of what I call gig snobs out there, and people kind of sometimes just buy into experiences. So, when you've got people like Aerosmith and AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, they come in and play stadiums. You've got people that are going to that probably know a handful of songs because they've heard them on radio, but they're actually going for an experience. And I just wish that some people would just take that chance and come and watch some of the fresh blood that's out there, because you will be surprised.
The problem we've had probably for the last 15 years is everything is so heavily produced. That a natural singer, I mean, you think like Annie Lennox, funny enough, Dire Straits, Mark Knopfler, they actually sing live. They're not auto-tuned. They have a voice. The problem with a lot of modern stuff that's produced, they can't do it live. So that live experience that we all crave is missing, which I think is one of the reasons it's died down so much, which is why festivals like this are quite important.
I think the reality, I mean, the music scene's changed a hell of a lot. And a good friend of mine gave me an analogy a while back. So when you think about bands like Duran Duran, for example, back in the 80s, they couldn't produce an album. They needed a record deal, and they needed to be found. And what you had is a great big wall with one door and hundreds of bands trying to fight to get through that one door, to be seen, to be heard, and for them to go, yeah, there's a record deal, and then them throw money and actually help make them famous. That was the record company's desire, to help make them famous. In this day and age, and it's been like this for a good 15, 20 years, anybody can make music in the bedroom. You could record drums in this very garage right now and create a reasonably good album that would stand up probably for radio play, to be fair, and not many people would notice.
In terms of the Rebellion Cigars and doing this music festival, what sort of age groups do you find smoke your cigars? Are the rock sort of generation, or are they the youngsters?
Well, it's quite diverse. I mean, we have about 2,800 customers in the UK now, right? And so whereas we don't know their ages because we don't track that, but we do get to know quite a lot of them. And you've got the old rockers out there, but you've also got a younger generation coming through and starting to smoke cigars. Perhaps for all the reasons we said before, because it's the last bastion of saying, fuck you, we're going to do what we want, and everybody's telling me we can't do it. I mean, the generational smoking ban comes in soon, right?
If it comes in, it'll be delayed again, I think. But yeah, when that comes in,
but it's gonna come in, right? So it's basically saying, screw you, we're going to do what we want, and if that means smoking a cigar, happy days, And it's amazing to see the vast array of different cigars that we sell, and we've got people who come back every month buying the same old thing, and other people buying a whole range of stuff. But I get a lot of people coming on saying, I'm new to this. I'm in my 30s. I've got a bit of time now. Kids are a bit older, whatever. Bit of disposable income. I quite fancy getting into this. How do I go about it? And my advice is always the same, and that is, there's the basics, which is, how you cut and light a cigar. But other than that, there are no rules. It's a voyage of discovery, and I encourage people to smoke as many different cigars as they can, and they will, you'll then find what you like. I always used to have a rule, but again, particularly in America, I'd go into a cigar shop and I'd always buy 3 of each cigar that I fancied, because if you smoke it the first time and think, well, I really like that, do you really like it 3 weeks later or a month later? Because you might have had something different to eat, the ambience is different, whatever. And if you like it again, then that goes into the rotation of things I want to smoke. And likewise, you may not like a cigar, but is it because I was just in a bad mood at the time, or the weather was cold and crap and that sort of stuff? And then the second time you smoke, you think, oh, yeah, quite like that now. And then the third one reinforces it. So that's kind of a rule I always used to stick to.
Yeah, I'm very much that way as well. It's the rule of 3. It's the first one is the novel experience. The second one is did I or didn't I? And the third one is the confirmation.
Yeah.
Right.
Incidentally, I've moved on to cigar number 2 now.
What's your second cigar?
My second cigar. I had to go. You know, I think we need to touch on the Rockstar, the Rockstar range of cigars, but we also need to tip the cap to the country ones. And my particular favourite,
You got redneck.
Redneck Woman.
Yeah, I'll be interested in your view of that cigar because I do like that cigar quite a bit. All right, let's ask the question that most people don't like me asking, but I'm asking it anyway. So, Sean, I'll start with you as you're the cigar company. Any cigar in history, any person to have that cigar with in history, who and what? And why?
Ace of Spades, Gordo, Winston Churchill.
Wow. That was
All
quick.
day.
Okay.
I would have so loved to have sat down and smoked a cigar with Winston Churchill. I mean, I was talking to Eddie Hall at the Beast, and he smoked with Arnie and Sly and all, you know, all the big dogs like that. And I'd love to sit and smoke a cigar with them. But Winston Churchill all day.
John, who would you have?
Well, this is just straight off top of my head. I'd want to smoke an S84 with James Hetfield from Metallica to see where that went.
That would be a good conversation because you could ask him about the whole of the research behind that.
Yeah, I'd love to have a chat with him about that. It's great. I love seeing the videos of him when he's side stage and he's
that man,
away.
talking of smoking cigars quickly, that man can really knock a cigar down very quickly.
Yeah, mid-set. Yeah, you see him chugging, chug. He's like...
puts it down and then carries it on. Adam?
Very much so. I think I would like to smoke. I'm not quite sure what kind of cigar I'd like to smoke. Probably, I don't know, maybe a Ramon Alones or a Monte Cristo number 2 with George Burns. What a legend he was! What a raconteur, an entertainer, and a prolific cigar smoker. He was around 20 to 30 cigars a day. That guy went through.
Did he?
Yeah. He got one on the go all the time. He was brilliant. Either that or the late great Dave Allen, another great wit and raconteur. I like funny, interesting storytelling people, and I think that to sit and have a cigar with one of those guys would be an entertaining evening, irrespective of the cigar you were smoking. You were just going to have a great night anyway. A few drinks, a few more, get the evening nice and going. And George or the great comedian Dave Allen would probably be my immediate thoughts, really.
So for people who want to get involved with this and want to actually find out a bit more about the festival, you say it's a 4-day festival. Where can they find the information and how much are the tickets?
So a weekend ticket, put me on the spot there. A weekend ticket.
I'm good at that.
John's never bought one.
Never had to buy one. We pitch a weekend ticket. I think it's around 105 plus a booking fee. And then there are various add-ons such as camping, VIP, glamping. You can put a motorhome on there. You can buy a motorhome with an electric pitch. And that's available. All the information is available on our website, which is callofthewildfestival.com. And tickets are available through gigantic.com, who are our ticket provider.
Brilliant. Guys, thank you very much for joining us on the Tasting Hour podcast.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for
Very
having us.
welcome. Thanks for having us. Yeah, appreciate it.
That's the full, well, most of the interview. If you want the full interview, as we said before, it's going to be on the interview playlist on the Tasting Hour podcast channel, along with all the other interviews, which I need to put up. I've been meaning to do that for a while, but this is a great reason for doing it. What they were saying about music festivals and musicians coming through the ranks now, it's really hard to find that actual genuine talent. Unless you have something like this festival where you could go see them live, it's all so heavily produced and done in people's bedrooms.
That's true. And that I had a customer who was very much making her own music and has got a small band going on. And unless you're on a little circuit of pubs which might have a few people in, it's very hard to get the following. I mean, And a lot of these small bands are probably only district, whereas if you go back to the 60s and you talk about some of the bands from the 60s, they're all over the place. I enjoyed the second part. I mean, the music is very interesting, and also the conversation going on afterwards. I think, from our point of view as two individuals, I hope you enjoyed that, because I found it's nice to know there's other people who think like we do.
Well, yeah,
Or in certain category areas.
indeed. On that note, I should mention the music festival, Call of the Wild, 28th of May to the 31st of May. So there's plenty of time to go grab some tickets if you want to go and watch them. All the details will be in the page, obviously in the description of this video underneath, along with the link to Rebellion Cigars, so you can go look at their website as well. It's nice to see there are people out there, though, that care enough to do this sort of thing, to try and get new talent coming through. Because as I said, if you don't do this, there won't be like the new Metallicas, there won't be Aha, there won't be anybody like that coming through.
No, you'll get all that disco pop stuff that's floating all over the internet. And
Yeah.
a bit. Meanwhile,
Back at the
cigar, it is now going quite nicely, in spite of a touch of a breeze going on. I have purged it a couple of times to find out what the cigar was doing at this point. It's mellowed down nicely, but it's still got a nice balanced flavour to it. And I'll stick with my first comment that I made in comparison to something else earlier on. It's a nice smoke if you like that type of cigar.
I think, the fact that you compared that to, actually, it does sit flavour-wise in comparison to a Romeo and Juliet. That actually, I do think, is a very high compliment for that cigar.
I think it deserves it, and there's lots of others like it. That's one of the things I always face. I try and get people starting on softer cigars because they're not used to that much smoking.
Yeah.
So you need to have the softer hits so that they build up their smoking experience. But yeah, something like this, when you're able to smoke and you want something stronger, this is a good place to go. And there's a lot of other cigars like that, because quite often you go to something much stronger after that.
Yeah. And that's it. When you're smoking your cigars, you should always go up in strength, I find, because if you don't, you're missing the nuances that the rollers intended for you to pick up. If you go backwards, it wouldn't. It just you get the nicotine, you get smoke, but you don't get that sort of complexity of flavours.
Well, to quote Rocky's explanation, it should be part of your journey that although you might like a certain style, you should always move along and move outwards as well.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cigars available in this country, and I've only got a few of them. And again, when you go into other countries, particularly into Europe, Germany, Switzerland and things, who are huge cigar smokers, their range of cigars is totally different in most cases. And it's understanding what you're going to do when you go up to a cigar and you smell it on its wrapper and then actually look at the sharp end to see what the inner core is doing.
I mean, to me as well, there's a reason you should smell the wrapper if the cigar retailer allows you to do that, because not all retailers will. But also there's a reason for sniffing the foot of a cigar. The number 6 is a great example for that.
Perfect example.
Because the wrapper gives you one sense of being, and the moment you sniff the foot, you think, oh Christ, that's something totally different.
There's something going on in there, which is we're going to experience as we come through and see what it does.
As you said about purging, this is a great example for this month's 101. It is on the subject of purging your cigar and how to. So we'll see you in a sec. Right, this month's 101, we're going to do purging on cigars. This is something you'll hear some people talk about. Not a lot of people do it. But one of those things that once you start doing it, you'll do it on almost every cigar you have. So this is about 2/3 of the way through. It's getting a little bit bitter. It's still very nice, very enjoyable. And you don't have to purge it if you don't wish to. But the trick is, you take a drawer in, make sure it's lit, it's good light still, ash the cigar, because you want to get rid of as much excess ash as you can. Grab your lighter, and what you're going to do is, instead of inhaling, you're going to exhale as you go to light the cigar. And that will literally burn off all the excess nicotine and clear the smoke. So like this. And what that does is it really opens up the cigar again, because you've burnt out all the excess smoke and nicotine, and it makes it a much more enjoyable experience. Now, I know people who smoke cigars who have smoked them for years and don't do that until they start doing it. And then it's one of those things you think, oh my God, it's a whole new experience. So there you go. That's purging.
So that's purging then. One of the reasons we actually purge is, apart from this, is to find out what the blender's doing on the way through the cigar. Normally, I'm reading one of my books on what they describe as the flavour profile, it's split into 3 ends. So I think we would recommend you need to smoke about a third of the cigar if you want to find out, purge it, and then find out what the taste is doing. Particularly towards the end of a cigar, purge quite often, because that allows the cigar to go, it's usually going softer.
Yeah.
And you get more out of your smoke.
And it definitely clears a lot of the nicotine that might have built up as well. But I mean, that's always been the story with cigars. Cigars are a journey of thirds. That's why you hear a lot of cigar reviewers, for example, the first third is this, the second third is that, because it's normally a very distinct sort of change at that third. Especially, I mean, you hear it all the time, especially Americans do it, but a lot of the UK reviewers will do it in thirds as well. And Cubans were always thirds. New Worlds, until recently, until the likes of Rocky and Oscar, they weren't. Like Brickhouse, as we were saying, that's a very old style cigar that's constant. It's a constant smoke. It doesn't really change over its smoking time.
No, it's old-fashioned in that sense, but actually they're still nicely constructed in the way they balance through. And you can get through to the end in the old style. I mean, because it was always the case, you'd always smoke all the way down, and most people wouldn't know about purging. And hence, there's always that saying that you should always smoke the cigar all the way through. But if you purge and do a bit, because we have occasions when we can't finish a cigar and we need to do something else because time is precious to everybody. Rather like we expect with the program to people come and go on any episode. And it's important to understand what the cigar is going to do if you let it go out. I definitely now tell people, if you know you're going to happen, purge the cigar to get rid of the old air out again.
Yeah.
Whether you're leaving it for 10, 15 minutes or even a day, it can't be what you started because your experience of what you were at that initial point would have gone.
Yeah. Also, the oils would have dried out, and therefore the flavour profile is going to change anyway.
And change. But it'll still be a smokable cigar as long as you've cleaned that air out. And I always say again, you do another purge just before you light it.
Yeah, and that gets
because it's still smokable, but it'll be slightly different to what you started.
Right. This month's cocktail is the Port Negroni. So go and watch that, and go watch that. We'll come back and see if you agree with my recommendation for the cigar of that drink. I'm not sure Gary will.
Hello, I'm John from the Bluebird Cafe and Bar in Wedmore, and today we're going to make a Port Negroni. Plenty of ice, with a nice sized glass, and we'll get the ingredients. A gin, using Bombay Sapphire, good Italian Campari, and some port. And very simply, we're going equal measures, a single measure of gin, single measure Campari, these single measures are 25 ml, and we'll finish it off with a single measure port. Okay, and just to finish off the drink, we have some couple of pieces of orange, and finally we'll have a little straw in there. These ones are a little bit too long, so just trim it down and pop it in there. And that's your Port Negroni.
Thanks, John. So this is a Port Negroni, which is very different for me. You can definitely taste the port on that. My choice of pairing to go with something like that, because it's got quite a lingering aftertaste, you want something to fight it. So I would recommend something like the Oliver Serie V Maduro. Well, welcome back. So that was the cocktail. Now I picked the Oliver Serie V Maduro. Do you think that was a good choice or not a good choice for a port Negroni?
Probably a good choice because the V's got a nice strong texture, and the port with the Negroni is going to sweeten it out.
It definitely had a really
And you
sweet
need the
note.
contrast, so that if you had anything lighter than that, you would lose it.
Yeah.
I think thinking of the Beast, which we were smoking earlier, that would have struggled against the port part of the cocktail.
Yeah, it definitely was quite an overpowering sweetness. You definitely need a real strong
With
note.
a ruby port, you're going to get that. That would have dealt with the Campari, or you still had the sweetness from the Campari coming through, not the bitters part of it, and gone through. But something else stronger than that may have been too much of a contrast.
Really do like these cigars. Now, these are the cigars, we can't get these in the UK.
No.
You brought these back from Germany.
Yeah, I brought these back from Germany. They're both Toros, naturally, because Robustos we smoke far too fast. And this has got what was known as the Habano, but otherwise now known as the Carrillo version wrapper on what is still the leaf core.
Yeah, so this is the Oscar Valdez leaf Maduro. Well, I'm so used to saying Maduro when I say that, but the leaf. So this is the leaf. Was it? You said it was called the
Carrillo.
Carrillo. See, it's gonna take me so long to get used to saying the new name.
It's the way it is. Yeah, all the packaging is now coming with Carrillo. Habano should be out, although there's one or two websites where you see the name creeping around now and again. Go through. Anyway, into Europe.
Yes.
I touched on it briefly in the last one. I'm going to spend a little bit more time now. I've had to bring my tablet up because we're going to show you some photographs that I took at the time. On each place that I was in, I did introduce myself as a retailer and did ask permission to film in their shops or take photographs, which they're all very happy to do.
They're a lot more relaxed over there than we are over here when it comes to smoking regulations. Well, they can show their cigars, for example, from the street, whereas in the UK, you can't.
So my first stop was Zach Bauer, and here you see from the outside, there's a lovely window display, which they're allowed to do in Germany. I've walked on in, and you're in then to the main shop where you see all the pipe tobaccos, and then I moved on with them into their humidor where they have their own brand of cigars there in various sizes and shapes and formats, and a lot of other New World cigars. Cubans are there, but really in small quantities, which I'll explain why later. Very nice shop. They also sell whiskey, and that is a rather excellent supply of Aberfeldy bottles there. The second shop I went to was Philip Huber in another part of town, not far away, but still in the centre of Ping. Again, a lovely walk-in humidor, various people, Rocky Patels, other brands, very few Cubans. They also have a magnificent pipe display, which I, as a pipe smoker, I absolutely adore. I'm biased on that one, and a nice supply of pipe tobaccos. Both of them very nice, friendly shops. Well, if you're in Munich, well worth a visit, and really nice inside in a modern, old-fashioned way, as such a description can convey. The third shop was outside of town, and it's summer. It describes itself as a warehouse, and yes, as you'll see from part video and photographs, it's quite a place, packed with stuff, accessories, a lovely cigar rack with multi-packs so you can slide it around, so it's a huge display they've got, lots of pipe tobaccos, and their humidor is absolutely packed with all kinds of New World cigars. Their Cuban, if you spot them on the video bit, is 6 special boxes, and that's their lot.
That's it. That's just See, that's mind-boggling to me because I've grown up with Cubans, and that's what it was for me when I was growing up with cigars. To hear that somewhere literally gets allocated an allowance every month if they're lucky.
That was the thing. I picked that up in summer. I spent a lot of time with them. I like the other shops, but summer particularly, two young men were the main people on duty. The owner, who's probably older than me, comes in. I didn't get to meet him, unfortunately. But I asked about the Cuban situation. And they, in principle, apart from these 6 boxes, no longer do Cubans. The reasons were, each month the Habanas SA supplier in Germany sends out an email which says what they've got and what their allocation is. Which means in the 2 main shops in the centre of Munich, there's almost nothing. And there's a complete shortage throughout Europe. This I knew of before going there, that would be a thing because we've been protected here in the UK. But in Europe, it's a point where people are looking for Cubans. They're travelling miles to go and find what they want. And then I said to them, they're not going to get it.
No.
It's not out there. And all their empty shelves are now being filled by New Worlds of all different firms and things. And if they find the right taste, that market that used to be Cuban, people are naturally going to go.
Well, you see, that's a good point. That comes back to the beast again, as you were saying. That actually is closer to a recognition of more of a Romeo, in which case that's going to take the Cuban side of that market away, and they're going to spring up, and companies like them doing that sort of flavour profile will take the market share.
Yeah, and Germany is huge in cigars. So are the Swiss, the Belgians, although their display laws seem to have changed recently, if I remember rightly. But that was one of the things. And the comments talking individually around them when we talked about the Cubans are very similar to ours.
Yes.
Quality control is whatever. And we know you know by now what we mean by that. And the fact that they've got no stock to play with just means it's if you ask, they'll show you what they've got. Otherwise, they're not selling.
Well, I mean, I remember years ago there was always a restriction. If you went somewhere and they had Cubans, you were allowed to buy 2. Not 2 boxes, just 2 Cubans. Well, and it's like, hang on a minute, if you want to go and you're going abroad, the price difference, you want to, basically you're going there to buy because you want to get your quota. If you're told you're only allowed 2, you're going to get very upset. Whereas here, obviously, there's no restrictions on what we buy here. It's just what your wallet.
No, and that's that restriction idea that somebody's going to go in and buy a box of Cubans in Germany in particular is not going to happen.
No.
A sad boast to say that I don't have a large stock of Cubans by English standards, but I've probably got more in my cabinet than those 3 shops combined.
That's quite
which is, as a retailer, that's a horrendous idea.
It is, yeah.
I know some are talked about.
Especially as their town centre shops, their city centre. Yeah, their main footfall.
The American tourists are going through them and they're not going to find them.
Yeah.
I mean, some explained that they were talking about 2 whole sections. You mentioned in each of those shops, there'll be 2 whole sections, or the equivalent to one of their photographs you see of their stock used to be Cuban and now isn't. It's huge, and that's damaging to the brand. Never mind the quality controls. Cuban, I think, if they get production back up or to whatever, and that's going to take a long time because of the country's difficulties, unless they get the quality control right.
They've lost that market.
They have lost that. They are losing out.
Yeah.
The world is moving on in the other countries. I brought back several Dominicans, a few Nicaraguans, a couple of Hondurans, and even a couple of Costa Ricans.
I'm interested in trying those Costa Ricans because from what I've smelt of them so far, they got quite an unusual aroma for a cigar. It's not what I was expecting.
Yes, that was interesting. I opened up. I did buy of the house cigars from Zach Bar a pack of 4, which means we smoked 2, and in one of the later programs we smoked the other 2, and that was quite interesting. It was quite a soft, earthy texture to it, reminiscent of some of the Honduran cigars of 20 years ago.
Exactly. It's very old school style of a smoke, and that is their house blend.
That is the house blend.
That's what a lot of people are smoking.
And I would think in the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot more of Costa Rica coming through as people get used to smoking them. Just as we do every day now with Honduran, Dominican and Nicaragua are mainstays. And all these countries are developing their tobacco industries.
Right. Let's get onto the cigar. You haven't started yours yet, because you've been having a lovely little chat going down memory lane there. I don't know why this is not in the UK. The flavour profile of this cigar sits very well with what I expect from Oscar, and I don't understand why they do not release this in the UK.
It might have been a production situation, but there was enough being sold in Germany and other parts of Europe that they didn't want to overcommit. I think the one that came in first is definitely the Maduro.
Oh God, yeah,
that's the one I picked up. And
but
to me, that's their flagship of the leaf.
Yeah, that I had one of those last night, funny enough, and it's a lovely, just constant construction, good draw, lots of flavour. This actually, I can see where the core of it is, and the wrapper does give it an interesting little development. But yeah, this should really be in the UK as well, I think. I'll be interested to see where you go with it when you get going in a second. You want to turbocharge it? You see, that's what, no good deed. This is what happens.
There's always a messy boy in the house. Luckily, I haven't dropped any on mine yet.
Yeah, I was just about to comment about how good the construction was and how well the ash is holding up. And then I choose to help you out, and look what happens. Anyway.
That's fun.
That is, isn't it?
That's up with a Maduro.
Yeah. I really like that.
Sumatran is lighter than this. The Connecticut actually is a very fine light cigar.
Yeah.
It reminds me when I was doing the wrappers, that's why I chose the Connecticut to go with the Brickhouse Connecticut.
Yeah.
Because their cores are, the core of this one as well, they're lightened by the thing, but you can still taste the core coming through. They're nice smoke. But this has got a bit more punch to it.
I like the cigar. The Maduro is still my favourite, but the smokiness, I mean, you can see the smoke is producing a lot. But it's not a harsh draw, it's a lovely balanced smoke. It's
but the core is that anyway.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, you remember coming in not long after I first got them, and I had smoked, I think, 2 at that point of the Maduros, the Robusto size. And I just found it a wow as a smoke.
Well, I mean, I still recommend the Maduro to anybody who wants to try a new world and hasn't done it. Although I do still find I have to tell them to unwrap it. The amount of people say, you can't smoke a cigar that looks like that. No, you unwrap said cigar.
And that's a very good point. We missed out on that one. I will do it very quickly. What have I done with it? I've thrown it away, the little white label. There's a little white label on it.
That's the only thing that isn't cigar.
That's in the black bag.
Yeah.
This is tobacco leaf. You can try and smoke it, but it's not to be recommended. It's the coarse stuff at the bottom of the plant. But that means it's green bin.
Yeah.
Your garden bin. This is reconstituted tobacco with, I think, it's either palm or it's rubber plant or something, some other thing. Again, it can all go in the compost.
Oh, yeah.
Compost.
Although I have to admit, I do have a friend who smokes these, and he does then break these up and puts them into his hand-rolled tobacco, and it's like, I wouldn't recommend it, but you can.
Well, it's probably got more flavour to it than some of the hand-rolled tobacco out there. So they put a punch in it from a nicotine point of view.
I mean, you can see, like leaf, it's still got the central vein going through it, so they're not stripped or anything. These are literally the bottom end of the leaves that is discarded.
Actually, at that thinness, it's almost a wrapper leaf.
I would say it was, yeah.
From the lower part of the plant, probably. Because they very rarely use that because it's too tough and hard.
But it just shows
it's
you,
almost translucent, which you won't see on screen, unfortunately. But
no, but it does show the innovation that Oscar's actually very much known for.
Why not? You know who you work for.
Yeah, that's true. Right. So, something else I need to bring up. Last month, I got something wrong when I was talking about alcohol and celebrities and Dan Aykroyd. I said he, bugger now, was it he did vodka or no? I said he did tequila, but I believe he does vodka. Either that or he does vodka and it's tequila. Anyway, I got it wrong. So thanks for the follower of mine who pointed that out in one of the cigar groups I'm in. Yeah, my bad. I just thought I'd better say that because if I don't, he will have another go at me for not mentioning it. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers us for this month. Is there anything else you want to...
Yeah, we've got a lot going on in the next couple of months. I'm certainly going up to the retailers exhibition up in Silverstone in middle of May. I'm not sure what's new out there, but I shall find out. Whether Jason comes with me isn't quite sure at the moment, but hopefully if we do, we'll see if we can do some filming up there. I've got some people to talk to on another matter, which relates to something that's happening in August.
Yep, and hopefully we'll be able to do something next year in relation to that.
That would be very nice. And thinking of August, those who want to, and we know one person because he's commented online already, has got his tickets. If you want to come and not only see suppliers like Rocky Patel, Jose from Galleria, and lots of others, you should go on to Smoke Festival 26 and grab your ticket. They are now £200. The early birds
have gone.
But you're going to get 5 cigars in that price, and we're talking about Toros on the most size, which means you're getting a lot of value of money.
Oh, definitely. The other thing, actually, there's a couple of new cigars. Trident Military Boys, by the time this show goes out, their new cigar will have released, which I believe is called Top Secret. I might be wrong there, so Nick, if I'm wrong, Hugh, sorry, you should have told us. Davidoff has released another cigar, the new Zeno. That's come out as well.
Yeah, I may find out. I've got the rep coming. Michael's coming to see me on Tuesday. I shall plug him a little bit for that and anything else he wants to
so on next month,
to test.
Exactly. So on next month's show, we'll be able to give you more of the details around those cigars, hopefully. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
And a series of 101s.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to get into doing some on pipe smoking. I'll start with an introduction to getting your pipe and move on to pipe tobaccos. We'll try and get some of those filmed off fairly quickly.
So yeah, stay tuned. Obviously, as usual, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the usual fun stuff, please. And drop comments. They really do help. And it also gives us something else to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's nice to actually engage. On that note, we shall catch you next month for another episode of The Tasting Hour.
Look forward to seeing you all then. Bye now.
Bye.